What's fascinating to me about Marlo is that there's still material, not simply unpublished, but published and yet hidden. We can take any book of Marlowe's and look far beyond the table of contents and find dozens and sometimes hundreds of ideas that are not represented in the table of contents. So you can take one article of Marlo, say for example, the prayer call in the New Tops and M.U.M, and spend a relaxing and mind expanding evening going through that, looking at, say, the prayer call as a control or as a switch. And you could spend the entire evening just reading that one article and find number of wonderful items that you will use. So in your attempt to wait for new Marlo to come out, there's new Marlo right under your nose and in your library. So pull those books out that you've had on your shelf for 20 years and go through them again. You'll be happy with the experiment. Another fascinating thing is that he really understood structuring effects. Even gambling routines, for example, Marlo's Pseudo Center deal. Now, this brings up an interesting point. Marlo's Pseudo Center deal was published in M.U.M in the 50s, and yet it's not been republished anywhere. So there's so much magic out there of Marlo's that just is buried in print, and it just takes a little digging and you'll find it. But this is a great example of that, and also how Marlo could really understood how to structure an effect and knew when the effect ended. As you'll see in my performance, there's no follow-up actions. Once that last card is dealt and the Ace of Spades is revealed or dealt out from the middle, the effect ends. It's like a good movie. Once the ending hits, boom, the credits roll. If you analyze this sequence that I'm about to show you, you can see how he takes a repetitious sequence, or what normally would be a repetitious sequence of the deals, and adds a moment of hesitation, perhaps a moment of comedy, depending on how you play it, and also a wonderful way to end the trick, as I pointed out. So think about this trick. This is a very good, and I consider it to be, of the versions of center deal demos that I've found, to be the best out there. There's one out there by Ortiz, which is very good, and he does a nice display, but he only gets one card display. One ace is face up in the middle. Look at Marlo's. Two cards get displayed right in the middle. It's a much stronger impression of those cards being in separate spots in the pack. And I don't know how easy it is to get a hold of M.U.Ms, but there's a lot of things out there that we have trouble finding. Marlo's stuff is so scattered, and I'm doing what I can to get some of those things out in the next few years. I will say that the next audience first talk, which will be next month, probably June 1st, will be devoted to some of the tricks that I've performed here on Marlo Monday, where I go into details on the how and the history and go into much more detail about how you can get these tricks into your own hands. And so I'm really excited about things to come. So let's take a look at Marlo's Pseudo Center from M.U.M. So I will place each ace in separate spots in the pack. So that each will be dealt from the middle, but from separate spots. Notice they're all face down and separate. In fact, let's give the cards one more cut just to bury them a little bit further. None near the bottom, and of course none near the top. They will be dealt directly from the middle in a five-handed game. Now I want you to notice I don't pull down. These hands or these fingers stay locked right on the side. It's this little gap right here that I pluck that ace right out. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Believe it, right from that little gap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we're allowed 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right from the gap. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the center deal. Let's tear a page out of second, centers, and bottoms. You are really arriving when you can use a second deal and a stop effect, and they think you are psychologically lucky. It's interesting how Marlo here would give advice on how to session with another card man and how to demonstrate your abilities with certain sleights, particularly here, false deals. Let's listen. Avoid at all costs a reputation for doing any particular sleight, especially false deals. Remember that a reputation for doing effects does not tip off the sleights you may be using or their technique. Avoid like the plague the fellow who asks you to do any of your false deals. The chances are he already has his mind made